So today, thank you, Joe, for coming. We are here with Community STEM Tours, and this is our series on collaboration in a time where learning and how to adapt and work together are so important. Joe is here with us, and he is going to tell us a little bit about his job. And Joe, thanks for coming.
Yeah, good morning, Mrs. Reeves. Thanks for inviting me to do this. Just a little bit about myself. I am a happily married father of three young kids, as you can see there on the slide. I live here in Middle Tennessee. My profession is I am a medical dosimetrist, and medical dosimetrist is a person who works with a radiation oncologist to develop radiation therapy treatment plans for people who need radiation treatments for different types of cancer. So I get the chance to collaborate with all sorts of different folks on a day-to-day basis, with other medical dosimetrists, with medical physicists, with physicians and nurses, and front desk people and concierge people. So there's a lot of collaboration that we do in my job. So this is a perfect opportunity to chat about this.
So we're going to play a game, and we're going to do ways that we communicate, and we're going to, it's called Draw It. So I'm going to draw some, and you are going to draw some, and we'll alternate back and forth. And you're going to try to guess which type of way I am communicating. We are only going to have 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay, I'm seeing a person, and they appear to be in another room, another person, separated. Okay, is this a FaceTime chat?
It is not FaceTime. It's more
Is it text messaging?
Text messaging. Yes, that's it.
Okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to start drawing away here.
Okay.
This is something not used that much anymore, but still important.
That is a letter. I mean, I see the address. I see the stamp. That has to be a letter.
Ding, ding, ding. That's correct.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, this person's at a desk. Okay, there's a group of people.
Lots of people. Yep.
Okay. Okay, would this be like a Facebook or Skype group?
Yep. Facebook. Okay. Yep.
Let's see if we can do this one.
That looks like another letter, but it has a wire.
This is the non-cellular version of this device.
Oh, okay. That's the old-timey telephone. That's a phone.
That's correct.
Awesome. Okay, I think I might can get one more in. We shall see. Oh, okay. So this, but it's going to be more like that.
Email.
Email is correct. So how can this game relate to how we communicate and collaborate?
Well, I think it just points out, there's lots of different ways to communicate and collaborate. So we just identified a few here with instant messaging and email and the old-fashioned letter and the office phone with the cord, which, by the way, that still does exist. I use that all the time. So it's still out there. And then ways we showed here, at least one of them, you have the opportunity to actually see people's facial expressions and still have some of the nonverbal communication.
Right.
Some other ways you don't have that. And that's an important thing to understand, is how we as humans actually rely on nonverbal communication quite a bit. So there's certain aspects of a conversation that can be misconstrued based on how two different people interpret the same instant message or text message, or even, someone writing a letter. So I think those are some ways here we saw with this game.
Okay, so students, I want you to list the ways we communicate and collaborate with others. Physical distance can create challenges when trying to communicate with friends and classmates. So think about ways that you can communicate with others. So Joe, what does communication look like in your place of work, and how do you communicate and collaborate?
Yeah, so we're collaborating with a group of software engineers, other IT type professionals. They're actually in Europe. So whenever we have conferences with them, we use a lot of video conference and online meeting applications. That's something that we definitely use quite a bit. We use a wide variety of tools to communicate. Everything, from a literal face-to-face conversation with a doctor or a patient or a coworker. Text messages for general things. Emails very, very popular.
It sounds like
things.
you use so many forms of communication. So how do you know what type to use when?
That's a good question. You have to be able to know the urgency of what you need to communicate. So an example, if there's an emergency, obviously you don't have time to send an email or text a text message about emergency that's happening in the same room. There's times when I could type out an email. It might take me 30 minutes to type out an email, or I could create a quick video conference with 3 people and do the same thing in 5 minutes. Understand all the tools you have and their limitations and decipher what's the most effective for the situation.
I know one of the things in our last chat that you had mentioned that your team kind of has a meet in the morning.
That's a good thing. Every morning, my team, we all get together. We have what we call the morning huddle. We either do this in person or through online video conference, or even a hybrid of the two. But we just get together every morning to start the day off to talk about, what goals do we need to accomplish for the day? What are any things that we need to set as a priority to get done? Who needs help on what? Where can we help each other out? We also try to make a little bit of time just to kind of catch up, to just see what people have going on in their personal lives too, so we don't lose the complete human, touch to everything.
So 10 ways to be a better communicator that I have found were to give a valuable takeaway, be a good listener, and then 3, pick an opportune time to speak. That 2-way communication, you have to think, okay, have they finished what they're saying? Is it my turn yet? Make sure that when you're not the one talking, that you are listening. Keep your responses simple. Don't be the person who needs to comment on everything, because sometimes we just want our little voice to be heard and participate, but make sure when we do talk, we're talking with purpose. And then stay focused, prepare ahead of time, have good energy and body language, and validate, then share. So what that means is I see what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, and then go into what you would like to share. And so I really like this quote: man is still the most extraordinary computer of all. Even though we have all of this technology, it's only as smart as we are.
All these are very good points. I think number 2 is very important: be a good listener. People won't actually be listening. They're trying to formalize what they're going to say next, and they can miss very important points from the other person. So learning how to be a good listener actually is a skill. And you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so try to listen twice as much as you talk, and that will
Love that.
serve you well. Also, I like number 6, don't be the person who needs to comment on everything. We have this term we use sometimes called the me monster. And the monster is the person who always kind of wants to have the last say on something, or they're always trying to one-up somebody with the story, or, something like that. So nobody likes the me monster. All very good points here.
Good. And then understanding that data is long-lasting and kind of stored forever. So like when we collaborate and communicate and talk to one another, once it's out there, it is there forever. So
that's very true. I mean, anything that we do on these devices, whether it's taking a picture and sending something through Snapchat, or sending an email or a message, everything is stored and can be accessed. So people need to really think about what they're sending as something that's going to be attached to them forever.
Right.
And what I found for myself is, if there's any hint of doubt in my mind, don't do it. And just, plays it pretty safe.
So I think that is a good motto.
And your devices, your own personal devices, are connecting to all these wireless networks. You have to realize that other people can see your devices, and data is transmitting, through the air and can be intercepted.
Right.
And,
nothing is private.
Right. And people really need to be careful, especially when they're at work, that they're not doing anything inappropriate, because, sharing a funny joke with your friend may seem like it's pretty benign and harmless, but something like that, if it's inappropriate, could get a person in a lot of trouble, and they could lose their job and possibly ruin their career over something that simple.
Right.
And working in the medical field, there's even an extra layer of precaution we have to take with privacy laws for patients. So, everyone's, health record is protected in private. So we have to be very careful about which forms of communication we use when we need to communicate those details. So there's certain methods that have really specific encryptions and security that we have to use on certain times that we cannot use other times. And I'll just give you an example is it would be inappropriate for me to send a text message to a doctor about a specific patient with details.
Right.
It's not something that is protected. That text message is actually stored, on phones, and it goes through wireless network. But the appropriate thing for me to do where I work is I would need to send this message in a secure email. So it has very specific data encryption that protects that data from being, intercepted and viewed from someone else. So that's an important thing. You cannot use all these tools for every single thing.
Right. Well, I believe this is our last note, our last slide. So, Joe, thank you for being a risk taker and sharing your thoughts and experiences today. Is there just you've had so many words of wisdom, but is there just anything last thoughts that you want to share with our students today about communication and collaboration, or just any types of tips of advice?
Well, definitely, learning to become an effective communicator is very important for whatever kind of job you end up doing, whatever kind of career path you want to take. It's important to learn how to, use all these things effectively that we've talked about today. So, taking classes to learn how to use some of these tools would be really good. Collaboration is something that you're going to end up having to do in whatever kind of career field you get into. And what you'll see is that when you have a group of people that can communicate clearly, they can kind of evolve up to this, what we call synergistic collaboration. And, that's just the point where if you have 5 people that work really well together and communicate well, those 5 people working together can get much more accomplished than the sum of those 5 people working individually. So that's just important to learn the skills to be a good team player and knowing how to listen. And probably, one of the final things I would just add is that, doing your best at whatever you decide to do. It may sound cliche, but that is important. And learning to become a dependable person is a very important skill, because I would much rather have someone that I could count on as dependable versus someone who may have more skill and talent, but they're not dependable as far as being able to be reached, or, they're not a good communicator.
Yes. So thank you for those words of wisdom, and I hope all of you take that to heart and use this wisdom in a way next year that you can be a better collaborator and communicator. And I think it's just going to take practice and just having that self-talk, and you can do it. We believe in you guys. Bye, everybody. See ya.